Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Gathering hosted by SRS Paranormal. As always, you have myself, Matthew Sorge, and case manager Al James from our team. We have a very special show lined up for you tonight. We have the Southern Ghost Girls with us, and they're going to introduce themselves and tell you all about what they do and how they have a unique way of investigating. And they're an all female team, which I always think is really awesome when we have all female teams on to talk with. A couple quick updates that we wanted to talk about really fast before we start the show. One is due to COVID, we have had to move the Hexpo event to August 12th and 13th of 2022. That is not our choice. It is the restrictions that are currently in Buncombe County and in the state of North Carolina. So we had no choice. And that was the best dates that would work out for the celebrity guests as well as the vendors. Additionally, there is a big project that SRS Paranormal is working on. There will be a big announcement coming with that tomorrow. And that is the documentary that we're going to be shooting at Randolph County in Winchester, Indiana. We have a pretty special announcement with that tomorrow. We're also going to be releasing the concept reel. I won't call it a trailer because we haven't shot the documentary yet. So it's just a trailer for that project. So that concludes our announcements, but let's get ready to dive into the show tonight. Like I said, we are super excited to have the Southern Ghost Girls with us. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Lesley and who is with Lesley, Al? I already forgot. I'm terrible.
Christy.
I'm going to bring Lesley and Christy on first, and then I'm going to bring Sherry and Kimmy, and then Anna. So let's get Lesley on first. Hello, Lesley and Christy. Welcome to the gathering. I'm going to start bringing everybody else in. Why don't you start telling everybody about the Southern Ghost Girls while I'm bringing everybody else on?
Okay, well, this is Lesley. I'm the founder of the Southern Ghost Girls Tours. We are a paranormal investigation team of all professional ladies who love paranormal and have had all kind of experiences with the paranormal, who have psychic medium abilities, or who just love, to dive into the strange things that happen in this world.
That's incredible.
We all have day jobs. I'm a business owner. Christy, she's a journalist. We have an engineer. We have an attorney. We have a registered nurse. We have an ophthalmologist. We have every, we're normal ladies during the day, but then we turn to ghost hunters at night. But we host tours also and all kind of fun things for people who want to try out, a public investigation. We make it a very inviting, friendly, family-friendly event, for people that want to try something a little different. Then they can come and join the Southern Ghost Girls on one of our public tours. So that's fantastic. In a nutshell, and I'll let somebody else talk now.
I was going to say first off, I just wanted to say fantastic. I love hearing when you have not only such a large group, because we have a large team, so we can certainly relate to that. And we're from all different walks of lives, much like you ladies, which is really fantastic because and I think you'd probably agree, it brings a different element to investigations because everybody brings their own skill set to the table, their own unique life experiences. So I think that's really awesome that you have such a diverse team and are able to share, your different life experiences that way. So how did the Southern, I guess we'll start with this question first and whoever wants to take it. How did the Southern Ghost Girls come about? What brought that about?
Well, I think we lost one person, Anna.
Yeah.
Right. We've lost her due to technical difficulty, I guess.
Everybody that watches our show is used to technical difficulties.
I'm not sure. She didn't get behind us here. No, I am literally, I have had paranormal experiences since the first I remember was 6 years old and having, like psychic experiences, that kind of thing. It has just always fascinated me. And I've always felt like I've got a connection with the other side. I've always been very open and very connected. So anyway, a long time ago, in my 20s, I started doing paranormal investigations. And the first place that I really remember doing things was in Florida, down in Pensacola at the lighthouse. And this was before the lighthouse. Nowadays, I know this is before it was ever refurbished. You could go,
Right.
you could sneak in there at night. I mean, it was crazy. But there and in New Orleans and Savannah, I would do some on my own, and then I would go with groups. And I've just done it my whole life. And I'm kind of going through a midlife crisis right now. so in my midlife crisis, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a team. And I did start a team. And, God sent me the right people to the team. And we have been together for what, 2.5, 3 years now. Time is really flying. And we do investigations, and then we also do the public tours. So that's how it came about, I guess, in a long way around it. But I guess because of the midlife crisis, I just had to find something new and exciting to do. So,
well, whatever the reason, it's a really cool concept, and like I said, I checked out your website and seen some of the stuff that you guys are doing, and quite frankly, I think it's a unique thing. I noticed you guys a lot of times will actually dress up in the period clothing. That's something that I know that we've experimented with and had great results, putting somebody in period clothing and reenacting things to kind of stir things up. So is that sort of how you use that concept, or is it just part of just how you guys do things?
yes, that is the concept. And I'll let Christy or Tab or one of you guys talk about it, because we get amazing, unbelievable results when you dress up.
I think it kind of
Absolutely.
I think it kind of knocks out two things. Any girl's desire to dress in those pretty dresses to begin with that we always wanted to wear. And second, we try to dress the part of whatever, building or home or, whatever venue we're going into, because if you look the part, maybe they have a familiarity with you.
Absolutely.
I would think if you were trying to talk to a child from the 1860s, if you went in dressed in today's stuff, they may find you kind of odd. But I think with the way that we dress and our demeanor, we are not threatening. We never call anything out. We never taunt. That they're
Absolutely.
Yeah.
more comfortable. And like I said, there's a familiarity with us that maybe they don't find with other groups.
I was going to say, this all sounds eerily familiar because our team basically works the same way, doesn't it, Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, we don't like to provoke, and we use some of the same kind of methods that you guys do. So,
in fact, this past weekend we had our historian dressed up as both a Yankee and a Union soldier for some experiments we were doing. So you guys are like right up our alley with what you guys do. So and I'm going to say that I'm sure you guys pull off the whole Southern Belle thing better than Al does. It doesn't work on him, but we try it every now and again.
yeah.
No, I'm just giving Al a hard time.
Hey, we dress anywhere the southern, early 1800s to, we've got 1920s, roaring 20s to 1950s. Like I said, we really do try to be trigger objects, trigger objects.
Absolutely.
And I know we've had Tab or Lauren, I don't know, one of you guys have had a lot of experiences with children. You want to talk about that?
Well, I know our biggest one where we've had experience with children has been Ladia Library, where it's across the street from the School for Blind and Deaf. And that one, they, children, they love books and like that. And you can tell in that place that they're connecting, especially in their children's room, where we had the action with the piano of a child in the piano. And you know a little bit more about that one.
Well, there was a child that we were communicating with the spirit box, and the EMF detectors were really lighting up.
And the REM pod.
We were asking questions. We were at a piano in what they considered the children's room, and we were getting some of the most clear responses and that we've ever gotten as far as spirit box goes. We knew we were dealing with children. We'd figured that out and asked, we were hearing actual piano keys come across spirit box. Like you could hear just little
Wow.
piano keys. Of course, we were making sure no one was touching the piano keys, and they weren't. But we asked, did they like playing the piano for us? And just as clear as that, we wasn't getting any radio chatter at all. It was just strict. It was answers, just all you're getting, and it come across as clear as day. Amazing. And then a few minutes later, we asked how old, and just as clear as day, 5 came out. And then the last response was
We had asked what your favorite
what
song
your
to
favorite
play.
song was to play on the piano. And just right at the time they answer, you hear them say "Twinkle, Twinkle," and you hear 2 or 3 more keys ding in the background when they say. It was just amazing.
Really cool.
The soft approach, almost like, we were a librarian or a teacher communicating with the children. Oh, you're doing a good job. And I think that really we get incredible evidence.
I know recently we went to Huntsville, Alabama, to the Dead Children's Playground. And I don't know if y'all know about that venue, but it's a playground literally in the middle of a cemetery. It's very bizarre.
Oh, wow.
I noticed there were other groups of investigators there, mainly young people just dressed in everyday clothes, but we dressed the part. And immediately, all the action and all the activity that was being, seen and heard was with our group. And we felt that the children felt safe. Otherly maybe figures that were there and were like hiding behind our legs or holding our hands.
They were actually holding our hands and gripping onto our legs. We could feel it.
And that happened to you as well at the library, Lesley. We had it on the SLS camera. You could clearly see the image of a child, and they had just hanging onto her leg like this, because I guess they feel a connection,
Yeah, and I also had at the Talladega Library where it felt like a child tugging on my back, like they would tug on their mom's purse.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that, I know from our experience that's why we're a blended team where we have male and female investigators, is because we found that when it was just us guys, we sometimes didn't get interactions with places. And we found by adding the female side, the female element, we were sometimes able to get connections that we weren't able to get in locations that we had been to numerous times before. So it makes a lot of sense to me that when you add that layer of wearing the period related clothing, that especially children's spirits would really react to that and really, latch on to that. So I think that's really cool. So I'm going to ask, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just a firm believer. You have to dive back into that time, and you have to almost, act it out or just be there. And I think if more groups would do that, they would get more evidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like before I formed this group, I knew exactly what I wanted us to do and represent. I had been on with some other groups, and it was just not my style at all. I mean, they're going in there provoking. Let's see if we can find something demonic, and there's no respect for the spirits. And I just wish that more people would understand that. I mean, not everybody does that, of course, but some groups do.
I think one of the things that we do that's important to me, and I think all other girls would agree, is we're very respectful of the history itself.
Yeah.
There's an educational element to our events with, because we bring people that have never done this before, and then we let them use the equipment. But before we do anything, girls, we tell the history of whatever place that we're about to do. We don't just go, here's a building, let's go see if there's a ghost. That's not how we want everybody to understand their history in the areas that a lot of times their own home they've never known. So I think it's important. And if you go in without even knowing the history of a location, in my opinion, you're wasting your time.
Absolutely. I mean, that is something that, I know that we have talked about in our team a lot, is that an investigation doesn't start when and I don't know where we're getting the feedback from. I'm sorry, guys, but, investigation doesn't start when you bring out all your equipment and start, putting out all your devices. The investigation for us, if we're doing a new case or residential case or, whatever it is, even a place we've been to, you always want to go back to the history if you've been there before. And if not, our research starts weeks before. We start diving in. We actually have a degreed historian on our team. He's one of our team members, and that's what he does. He deep dives the locations that, even if it's a famous place that everybody knows the history, we do our own research, because I love when I hear teams that talk about doing that, because it is so important. I think for two reasons. One, you could get lost down a rabbit hole if you're not careful, or you could totally miss what's really going on because you don't understand what's happening at a location. So I love when we talk to other teams that have that same belief. And I think you made a great point about spirits and about being respectful. We always kind of put it this way: you wouldn't walk into Walmart and just start disrespecting everybody in the store. So why would you do that when you walk into a haunted location and just start disrespecting the spirits? So, wonderful to hear people in the field that have that same thought process. So I guess Sherry and them have been kind of quiet down there in the bottom right corner of the screen. So I'm going to pick on them and ask them, what's your favorite location that you have been to or have investigated? What is your spot that you've been to so far that's been there?
I would say the Antebellum Mansion in Birmingham. Really recently, we had some incidents. I guess the most interesting to me was one evening, the ghost hunt, and we were, I guess, packing up our things, and she was coming up the steps, and I was following behind her. And as she turned the corner of the steps and went into one of the rooms, one of the chairs just pulled out from the wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. That's probably that was just a few weeks ago, actually.
Fantastic. So what's the background on that particular location? What's the backstory on it for people that may not be familiar with it? What's its kind of short Reader's Digest history on that location?
Do you want me to talk?
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Whoever.
Okay. It is like a awesome place, and it was built it's in Birmingham, Arlington Antebellum home, built in 1840 originally by Judge Mudd. He was a circuit court judge in Elliton, which was the city before Birmingham was formed. So he raised his family of 8 or 9 children there, all during the Civil War. He actually then moved out of it, and another person called Mr. Munger and his family of 9 children moved into it. And then it was actually sold to the city of Birmingham because it started going really down in the 1950s. So Birmingham took it over, and it's a museum now. But the cool thing about Arlington, there's so many backstories about it, and they're learning more and more and more. But General Sherman, and his General Wilson, they actually marched through Birmingham. There were 13,000 troops that camped out on the land there.
Oh, wow.
He took the whole entire house over as his headquarters. He stayed there. It's the only remaining house in Birmingham that is of antebellum home. There are no others. It was the only house that survived the Civil War. Judge Mudd was a Mason, and General Wilson was a Mason. And the story is that is why Arlington was saved and not burned. They made a deal there, and you have to take the story how you want. I'm not saying this happened or that happened, but after that, Wilson actually got the targets where the Confederate ammunition was being made, and he went and he destroyed the barracks at the University of Alabama where the barracks were. He destroyed all of the mill. What do you call it? Mills? Steel mills. Yes, iron mills, whatever they were called, that made the ammunition. So how did he get those targets, you know.
In a nutshell, he was a traitor for the
we
Confederacy.
don't know. We don't know. But there's just a lot of, you know.
He was also not a very nice man, we hear, but that's
No,
to be
it was a
debated too.
It's a plantation home, and he had countless slaves, and I get the impression he wasn't a good man. Man, he and I don't see eye
But
to
you
eye.
don't ever talk about Judge Mudd because
No.
Christy, we all saw this with our own eyes. Judge Mudd loves me. I'm just going to admit it. Judge Mudd likes me. I don't know. But
So you got a ghost admirer.
I saw it like Christy, and we saw it with our own eyes on a tour. We were there. It was stressful anyway. We had 100 people show up to this tour. And we had all these people, but Christy just started getting agitated. Y'all were witnesses to it. She started acting like I don't know what. And I was like, what is wrong? Anyway, into the tour where there's 25 people watching the tour. We're standing on this knoll that could be where the overseer stood. There's two theories.
wow.
That's where the overseer stood, and the other theory is there's Union troops that are buried there up on the knoll. Well, Christy says something. What did you say?
Well, I was talking about how I thought Judge Mudd was a jerk.
She said like he was a jerk. And then I'm not kidding you. Her legs, her feet got yanked out from under her, and she fell in that mud just because his name says Judge Mudd, and got mud all the way up her slip in her dress, and it's still there. It won't come out. So you can't talk bad about Judge Mudd because she got knocked down.
There you go, right? Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
He doesn't like me, but his wife likes me.
But the wife loves her. So, well, Anna, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
What
Right
did you?
there, not far from her.
What?
Just slid.
He
Wait,
pulled
there's
me.
a field
He
there.
pulled me sideways. It was
It
the
was
weirdest
real.
sensation ever. It was like in slow motion. I'm like, what is happening?
And so I tell that story. Do I not, Sherry?
Yeah.
Every tour. Don't you dare say one bad thing about Judge Mudd, because he might yank you out from under and slam you on the ground because he ain't playing. I'm telling you.
That location to be, I just want to make sure I wrote it down. It's called Arlington Mansion. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll write that down on our list. We have a growing bucket list of places to go.
We've been doing a bunch of tours there lately, and we've kind of been doing different things. We've spread out to do these fun things. We are adding murder mystery dinners, and they are doing the dinner there, and they have a chef that prepares the dinner, and we do the fun murder mystery, and people do that, and then they do a ghost hunt afterwards. So we're kind of mixing it up. And with COVID, it's easier to control. You know, people are seated, and
Right.
we're able to control that better and do it safer. But we've had, the craziest evidence in the world the last 3 times. Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, every time we've been there, we've gotten great evidence. I mean, the lights have turned on and off, flickering. I mean, it's been awesome.
An EMF detector flew out of a guy's hands into
Yep.
the wall. We all saw that. The chair moved by itself. But it's a really interesting place. But what makes it really interesting too is it is a house museum. So there are artifacts in there from lots of different people and from all kind of different mansions. We investigated Sweetwater Mansion. Have y'all heard of that?
I have. Yes.
Super active. Well, we found out that the chase, there's like a, what do you call it, love seat or something, antique love seat, I'm not sure the terminology right now, it came from the Florence antebellum home. So see, it's there. So I feel like there's attachments to a lot of this stuff that has actually been transported there. Jefferson Davis's wife, her jewelry is in a case. Her hair has been made into jewelry. That is there. And actually, Katharine Hepburn, the actress, one of her chest of drawers is there. There's a walk
And
can't put you in one that was like it. So
And Mayor Siebel's is also buried on the property there.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow,
it's a
that's-
cool place. It's a cool place. If nobody, if you haven't been, you really need to check it out. It is awesome.
Well,
Our
I've
thing-
added it to our list, our growing list.
We have a huge list, and Al, being our case manager, he always does that. He always adds stuff, which I'm glad because we never run out of places to go, check out and investigate. But no, it sounds like you guys have had some really incredible experiences at the locations that you guys have. And again, I credit that to your out of the box thinking. I mean, I know in my 15 years of being involved in the paranormal, the more we get outside that box, the better that we learn and we advance new theories, and it's the only way we're going to move this field forward. I think that's great. So I'm going to ask another question. What's your guys' go-to piece of equipment? What's other than yourself? I mean, because everybody always we always say you're the best tool that you take in the environment, but what's your best physical piece of equipment that you guys really like to use outside of yourselves?
I think we all have something different. We like. I'm a fan of. I like the spirit box a lot.
Doing the Estes method.
I like to do. Or you are familiar with the Estes method? I find that
You use it all the time. Yep.
So doing the spirit box, you get a lot of people chiming in and leading you to believe what they think you should have heard. But with the Estes method, I think it's a whole different concept with that, and that's my favorite thing to do personally. And it's a really good activity to let our guests that come on our tours get involved. And kind of that's probably my favorite.
I love the ghost box and then the dowsing rods. Seeing the dowsing rods move is it's really fascinating.
You guys are like, you talking exactly how we operate.
They're
we totally get you guys.
thing.
We get you guys.
They are. I mean,
We do Victorian era methods. We do seances, Ouija boards, all that good stuff. I mean, we're cross validating it with meters and equipment. So you're completely speaking our language. That's why we're laughing over here.
What do y'all like? Tab and
For me, I personally like the dowsing rods and then the Spiritus app. I connect a lot through the Spiritus app. It's probably my favorite compared to Ghost Box. It's probably my favorite. But I originally had bought our dowsing rods to try at the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and then I think that's pretty much where we fell in love with them.
yeah.
So.
That's a cool location too. We've been there. Yep.
We haven't heard from Kimmy yet. Kimmy, what's your favorite piece of equipment?
I like the Spiritus app, and I also like the dowsing rods.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask about the dowsing rods since
the basic stuff.
There's some equipment in the way we do things. Is we have guests that come in and we're trying to keep everybody interactive, and there's some equipment that maybe a private group that was on a 3 or 4 person investigation could use it. It's just not feasible with what we do. So we have to really rely on the equipment that everybody can kind of feel involved with, and so that's kind of why maybe some of our answers are a little bit more limited, because we're a little bit more limited on what equipment we can use in this environment.
Yeah, no, I think that those are the type of tools that we use.
Well, I was going to say REM pod too. I like it. I mean, I love the dowsing rods, but I like the REM pod too.
You get really just straightforward. I mean, when that light goes off, and
Oh yeah.
straightforward answers. I mean, it's like we're not going to do that, and just like, but yeah, I like that. But more, people spend thousands of dollars on these big, I can't. My mind's blank right now. But anyway, things that are made and all this stuff, and I just think it's better to go back old school, the basics, really.
Yeah.
I always say my favorite piece of equipment is whatever's working at that time.
That's true too.
If we're not getting anything with the spirit box, then we, try recorders with EVPs. If that don't work, we'll go to dowsing rods. We have how many cases, Matt, do we have?
Oh God, 20 cases of gear. I mean, it's really ridiculous. We have, if it's out there, we probably own it.
Yeah. So,
but I found the most expensive things that may be handmade by someone. I don't resonate with those.
I'll be right back.
My favorite things is Lauren brought one time cat balls, like the little light up cat balls.
They work great. Yes. Yep.
That is only triggered by a touch, and I find those fascinating. You'll literally be sitting there doing nothing, and then boom.
Yep.
Absolutely. You know, and I know in our experience, we found sometimes too that when you put something out that looks like it belongs in a NASA laboratory, if you're a spirit from the 1800s or the 1700s or whatever period in time, you're going to look at this and go, what is that? And what am I supposed to do with it? So we actually build REM pod devices that are, which is what I think Al probably went to get.
I did.
We put them in what look like music boxes, and we actually disable the sound on them so that you don't have.
That's cool.
So the speaker turns off, so you can have just the lights too. So
Yeah.
that's why I say you guys are like completely speaking our language, because we think outside the box on these things too. And so I want to ask a question on dowsing rods. Since some of you guys have experience, you know, or have some psychic abilities and sensitivities and empathic abilities, what is your feeling on when you actually use something like the rods or you know, a pendulum or something where you're using your energies? Can you guys feel that energy transfer through you? I know I can when I'm using them. I mean, it's like holding the car battery. I mean, it's a real transfer of energy. So what do you guys feel about that? I mean, how's your experiences?
There's been several times when I've been holding the rods and my hands just vibrate from the energy, or they tingle or something like that happens. And then next thing you know, they just start acting crazy because there's energy right there.
Absolutely. I was going to say, and Al's feet gets hot is what has happened to him. His feet get really hot when he's on the rods. But when you put the rods in somebody's hands that's in the public, like, because we do a lot of public investigations too at historical locations here in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. And when you put those rods in people's hands, they first look at you like you're crazy because they think you're manipulating them. But when you put them in their hands and that happens to them and they get that, you know, deer in the headlights moment, it's, to me, it's one of the most validating things as a researcher to watch somebody that's skeptical about it get a hold of those rods and like, oh my God, I'm not doing this. Who's doing this? So, you know, I think that's just fascinating when that happens.
That's the people normally, you know, we'll like, we always ask the people, how did that feel? And we want them to share their experiences, you know, and they always say, my hands started burning, my arm was burning, but a lot of them get real emotional and start crying. We've had so many people get so overwhelmed because they're connecting on a different level, and they're actually just bawling. But I have not been doing the dowsing rods that much lately. I've been giving them to other people because it had gotten to where with me, I am so I guess my psychic abilities are stronger. I'm more open. But the last 6 months,
You need them less and less.
Like that, it was channeling way into me, and I was getting real emotional. I felt like I was becoming like the Cherokee girl we were talking to in Jasper, Georgia. It was just too overwhelming, and I was getting upset. And you have to be careful. That's another thing we haven't talked about. But you have this stuff is real, and you have. When you're letting something use your energy or you're channeling something, you got to have protection. And
absolutely.
We had an experience last year where we blindly, it really wasn't our group, we had someone helping us, but they just kind of blindly went into something, and we did have a bad reaction. A demonic, I feel like, thing came over a guy. And the guy that was doing it didn't know how to handle things. And since that episode, I have really started taking protection classes, spiritual protection, energy work. I wear these oration beads everywhere I go. Crystals, they do have powers to protect you. And by the way, if anybody wants these, I just have to tell you, these have like literally changed my life. There's a lady, Cynthia Bacon, and she doesn't even know I'm giving her this plug. But she has a website. She actually is a psychic, and she goes into the quantum field to heal you. But she meditates, and she finds out which stones or crystals are best for you for protection.
What vibration? Yep.
And this is they're awesome. It's mysticangels.net.
Very
Let me write that down. Mysticangels.net.
Yes, and each set, they're kind of like our dresses. We get obsessed and want to buy more dresses. I've gotten obsessed and I have a pair. But they are downloaded with prayers. You pray with them. And I use this, and I say my prayers before each ghost hunt now, before we do something. Whereas before I was blindly going into it. And I think it has made a difference.
I think you hit on something very important, and it's something that we end up talking about almost every single show, and it's something that we always talk about whenever we do our publics. We usually have a little Paranormal 101 where we talk about equipment and we talk about theories, and we kind of teach people the rights and wrongs, and we talk about protection, and we talk about, to me, another important factor is intentions. A lot of people think that, well, spirit boards are evil or pendulums are evil, when you're using a little pendulum. They don't understand that it's intent. Whenever we ask unknown forces and unknown entities to interact with us, it doesn't matter if I'm holding a tape recorder or if I'm holding dowsing rods or if I'm on a spirit board. We're asking for those interactions. So I think what you guys hit on was really, really important. It's intention, and it's protection, and it's understanding and respecting what you're dealing with. Because I think people, they think it's all fun and games and thrill seeking, and they don't understand that there are real consequences. And you guys can probably speak to this. I know in our experience, the more that you do this, the more that you put yourself in spirit's company, and the more that you engage with the other side, the higher chances are that you're going to have negative interactions. I mean, I've dealt with attachment issues in my own paranormal career. It's a real thing, and I think that we don't talk enough about that in the paranormal. So I think it's great that we bring that up tonight. So for you guys, I know prayer is important. Is there any other protection rituals that you guys use? For us, it's amulets. A lot of us on my team, we're Reiki practitioners, so we do energy work. Most of us are sensitives or have some mediumship abilities. So same thing. We do a lot of energy work beforehand. Do you guys have other stuff that you do in addition to the prayers and energy work that you guys use?
I know I'm doing my prayers. I know I do that. Guys have any?
I just pray. Pray for
We-
the negative not occur, and wish for experiences.
And if we do have a negative experience, we do like to sage ourselves afterwards to kind of cleanse ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Palo Santo is another one of my favorites. If you guys don't use it, it's great for negative energy as well. You guys don't
What
use
is
Palo.
it?
It's one of my, Palo Santo.
I've got
I have a
some
question for you girls. Do each of you have your own set of rods, or do you share them? Or
Oh, here we
I
go.
know somebody on our team.
Here we go. I don't share my toothbrush out. Rods are a personal thing. It's my energy. Okay.
I know we have our own personal set because I originally bought a set, and then, like I said, started using it at Old South Pittsburgh in Nellie's room, and she was giving us hugs and all that stuff. And then I think that's kind of where our love for them expanded. And I know you went and ordered a set, and then Lesley went and ordered a set. So us have our own sets. We also do have the sets for the tour, so the people that don't have their own sets can use those.
Yeah, we do as well.
Yeah, we do as well. And Al's just giving me a hard time because I'm
I don't mind sharing mine.
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
selective of who I let use mine, and it's an energy thing. If I like your energy and we jive and I like your energy field, I'll let you use my rods. But if I don't like somebody's energy, even though I can clear and cleanse my rods, I still just don't like people on my rods if I don't like their energy. So I do let a lot of people on my team use them. I sometimes don't let Al just because I like to get out all the time. So
Well, I don't mind, but that's kind of like crystals. I have actually started using crystals in all of my investigations, protection stones and manifestation stones, and You know, you got angelite, which you can tap into angels that way. I mean, I think there's a lot of energy with stones. And
Yep.
I actually was at I think it was a public investigation. Somebody had a stone, and somebody goes, "Let me touch it," and the person just slapped the person's hand. It wasn't in our group. They're like, "I don't want your negative energy," and I mean, you know, I guess those stones are really personal to them and intentions, but yeah, I think a lot of people do believe in all, you know, that, and it's whatever individual preference, you know, you feel. We've actually taken holy water to our events too.
Why not? Yeah. No.
We haven't really used it yet. Hey, Colin.
I mean, we've actually done Native American rituals to ask for permission to enter certain locations. So, I mean, it's all about doing what respects the cultures and beliefs of the location and your own personal beliefs. And I think you guys have also hit on something else I think is really important. Do what works. You know, do what works for you. I think we spend too much time in paranormal being concerned with what everybody else is doing and not focusing on what works for us. Do what works for you and enjoy it and be proud of, you know, the successes you have, sharing other people's successes. I think that's what we need to do more of in paranormal person. So I'll ask this question of you ladies. If there was one thing in the paranormal industry that you could change, what would that be?
I'll go. And you kind of touched on it. It is the whole, people get hunkered down in what they think works, like you said, and then they can't help but launch criticism at someone that does anything totally different. And last I checked, in ghost hunting, we're all learning. It's not like an exact science, and we could all learn from one another if they would just quit criticizing one another. We've been criticized for using dowsing rods, and I think, well, why do you care?
Yeah.
That we're using dowsing rods. I see a lot of infighting going back and forth, almost like politics at this point, because people can't respect the idea that other people have different methods or want to try different things that are outside what they would do. And that's probably what is really disappointing to me about the whole, you know, paranormal scene, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's why the field is kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck in a rut of doing the same thing over and over, because some people are afraid that if I do something different, I'm going to get, you know, attacked or made fun of or whatever. But, you know, I just really think that we should just focus more on doing what works for you. And if you see something that somebody else does that works and you want to try it, by all means. You know, that's the first thing we tell people at our Publix is, look, we're not telling you this is the only way. We're telling you this is what works for us. You know, over 15 years or so, this is what we have developed you know, over the years of individual and as a team. So I think that's the takeaway is, you know, doing what works best for you and not worrying so much about what the guy next to you is doing, so to speak. I think there's way too much of that.
It's almost an oxymoron for people that are in the paranormal to then be closed-minded, because the paranormal requires an open mind, and that's across the board. You can't be open-minded to the paranormal, but closed-minded once you're in there. If that makes
Absolutely.
Sense.
Yeah, it's ego. People just need to set the ego aside and just focus on the experiences and you know, let's all learn from each other and move forward. And you know, and I'll never throw shade at other people for this reason. I charge my rocks in the moonlight and I talk to thin air. So who am I to throw shade at anybody? Right?
Well, I don't understand how, but I know, I mean, the last year we have ran into people with egos that have just, I am in no competition with you people. You know, we do what we do. You do what you do. Respect each other. Have fun. Learn. I am not after anybody, but we've had people, you know, coming after us, and we're gonna do, you know. There is no room for this. I just don't understand it. Why people are like that. I mean, I guess that's just how they are. You know, there's competition in music industry and every other, you know, whatever. But goodness gracious, it's been bad. You know, I don't bash anybody. I mean, you know, I just respect what they're doing, and if they want to do it away, then fine. I don't know how y'all feel about that, or Sherry, or y'all chime in. But it's gotten pretty rough out there. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing. And that's just why I love talking to like-minded folks. And that's why we love doing this show, because we get to meet like-minded people. And that to me is networking. And that's meeting the people that I think are trying to move things in the right direction. And if we kind of steer each other and kind of work with each other, that's eventually going to hopefully spill over into a larger segment of the field. At least that's my hope anyway. And maybe I'm a dreamer, but it's at least what I hope happens. I'm going to ask you guys another interesting question, because it just popped into my head, where you guys do a lot of public events. And I know we've had this experience, so I'm curious to see if it happens to you guys too. We a lot of times will have, this is a bad term, but it's kind of the term we use, as spiritual baggage. We'll have people that come to investigations with us, and we'll start bringing over people that are connected to them, not necessarily connected to the property. And we've documented this on numerous occasions, where it's nothing to do with our location. It's to do with loved ones that are with them, or friends that are with them. And we get that experience quite often. So does that happen to you guys in the public space a lot?
Oh,
It does. It's happened to me several times.
Yep.
It's happened to me a lot too. I mean, literally people who have lost people recently, or even as much as 2 years ago,
Yep.
we would stand and have just a long conversation and investigate with our equipment, and we're getting answers, but it's all related to someone who's attached to this person that's there. Like I said, nothing to do with the location, and literally the person is communicating and emotional and crying because they know they're communicating with their friend or their loved one. So,
and that's what I was going to say. I know for us, and I'm sure you guys shared this sentiment, that is so validating. It's not just validating because of its communication or proof of the afterlife, but to me, to see a loved one get a message and we were helpful in facilitating that is the most rewarding thing that we can have in this field. So I'm glad to hear that other teams are having that same experience. So that's something to do about the way that guys like you and guys like us, and I use that term loosely, but people like us, I should say, the way we do things, that's probably why that happens. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So many people, and it would be interesting. I guess we just need to maybe start asking the question. But so many people do come looking for their child that was killed, or their mother that's just passed. They want to learn more, and yeah, when we make those connections, this was a public investigation just a month ago, and we were doing I don't know if y'all ever done the human pendulum. That's something you got to be pretty careful with, but we were doing that, and the girl that was doing it, she connected with the baby she had just lost. She had just lost a baby, like maybe 3 months before, but the answers we were getting and everything was just crazy. And it was like tears of happiness because she actually connected. And it feels good to be able to help people like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, like when we were in Jasper, Georgia, I mean, we had the Jasper jail is where we were at, and the sheriff's daughter who used to live there came, and she connected to her mother who had passed of cancer. Wow. And it said her name, and it says, "I'm okay."
Wow.
So, I mean, we've had that happen to us several times.
And that's a rewarding thing. And that's why I was kind of, if you guys have had that experience, because to me, that just is so cool. It's so validating to, we go into these environments all the time and we have these interactions, and I know you folks are probably the same way. It almost gets to, like, I don't want to say mundane or routine, but it takes a lot sometimes for us to, really be like, oh, wow, that was, pretty cool, because stuff happens so readily. And then you have a moment like that where somebody's relative has come through, and that's such a different experience. I think we got a question. What do you got there, Al?
Yeah, Heather Wolfenbarger says, I'm looking at buying my own dowsing rods, and I found a pair on Etsy that comes with 2 glass bottles. It says if you fill them with water, gold, etc., and attach the rods, you get a more accurate dowsing. Have any of you tried this? Does it make it more accurate? I have
I have
not
Never tried that.
No.
I'd be curious
I know
now.
we've used dowsing rods for years and never needed to use water bottles with them. Ladies, you guys use them frequently. I've used them for years. Thoughts?
Well,
They work just fine without anything attached to them.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
I'm just
Um,
curious if they're using the water bottles as some type of grounding type mechanism. I don't know what
It
the
could be.
purpose of it. I'd be curious about it. I mean,
Yeah.
kinda neat.
Maybe more energy would come through.
Maybe
Yeah, with the water.
help
Yeah.
channel more energy. Maybe
Yeah.
make them more effective. I don't know. I hope you try it. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, because I that's a new one on me. It's something I've certainly never heard of. I actually did buy my set that Al was poking at earlier recently off of Etsy, a new set. It's a different set than my other set.
Oh,
It's
they're
kinda cool.
fancy.
They're fancy. They got wrapped copper wire and they got little glow in the dark ends on them, so you can
Oh, that's cool.
kind of silly, but it's kind of cool too. So Al, let's pick another question out of the thing there.
Well, I had a question. Out of 7 of you girls, one of you has got to be the most skeptical on the team. So, which one of you is that?
Me?
Probably, I don't know. Maybe Christy. I don't know.
Christy?
Yeah. Me.
Hey Sky,
Oh,
I was saying hi to Sky real quick. Sorry.
okay.
Oh, that's okay. For me,
So, Christy, you're the most skeptical.
I totally believe in the paranormal, but I'm probably the last one to be convinced of something that's happening. Like I feel like sometimes I'm probably the last one in the room that's still going, well, it could be. You know, I'm just going through everything in my head of what it could be. And then sometimes I still go home and still try to keep thinking about what it could be. So I'm pretty slow to convince. But it
So you're
doesn't mean
out.
I don't believe. I do believe. I just don't think everything that happens is paranormal. And we do run across people that every bump in the night is paranormal to
Yeah.
them, and I find
Right.
that
No.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna know if it's questionable and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's a scientist in me. I want to know everything I can, and before I make a decision on whether or not it is or is it paranormal. I don't jump real quick to the paranormal conclusion.
And I think
And
that's
we
good.
don't-
I think it's important to have a healthy dose of skepticism, and that's balance, right? I mean, and I'm sure just from talking to you all, that's pretty obvious that you guys, I'm sure, always do your due diligence to debunk things, and that's part of it. I mean, that's the difference between just having fun and being a serious researcher, right?
Well, I have a question for you guys. And just recently, one of our public tours, we had a person come. Sherry, you were there.
Yeah.
And the person came with the ill intent of, trying to bash us. This is all fake. He literally ruined the tour for every single person that was there. Like, people cussed him out. That's how bad it got. But his
Wow.
whole intent,
It was really bad.
Yeah, we
it was like he's the heckler there, and
Yeah.
it ruined for everybody. And he started.
I can think of.
Sherry first.
Yeah, he started with me first. He was
That's
I've
terrible.
never read
It was
anything
bad.
Like that. And I mean, he keeps asking me, "Well, how do you know that this and that?" I mean, there's not an explanation. I mean, I mean, you see the evidence, but I don't know. This guy, he was just crazy.
Yeah,
And he
I
was
think.
with his mom, who is a believer. He was
Yeah, see.
skeptic, but his mother was there, and she believed, and he just argued.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to. I think it kind of comes down to, at least this is my interpretation on it. I'll tell you 2 quick stories that we had happen at Publix, but my thing is, there is never going to be enough evidence for the non-believer, the true hardcore skeptic. You could fill an entire, ship full of proof, and it's still not going to be enough for them. And for the diehard believer, you're never going to be able to tell them that it's not real. So I think the truth is in the middle for all of it. It's sort of like the atheist and the preacher having a conversation. The atheist is never going to believe what the preacher has to say, and the preacher is never going to accept what the atheist has to say. And I think it's sort of the same thing. And that may be a horrible analogy, but it's really all I got. But we had a guy that all of a sudden got scratches at a place that we have investigated. I would say, I'm being conservative if I say 50 or 60 times. We've done at least 30 or 40 publics at this location. We've never had a negative interaction there. That's not to say that we can't. It's not to say that when we're communicating, we can't open that portal and something can happen and something can come over, because that can always happen. But I will say this, he was being attacked and scratched, had these scratches on his back. We couldn't figure out exactly how he was making the scratches, but then we figured it out. He had a period of time where he was away from the group, and he used the dowsing rods to mark up his back and then try to pass it off as a demonic attack so people would be afraid to hang out at this location with us. And then we had another guy that was just a hardcore skeptic, and he kept heckling things and saying, well, if you put those dowsing rods in, some PVC pipe by themselves and they moved, then I might believe it. It's like, well, dude, you're not getting how the energy transfers to us. So whatever. But we've had those type of experience, nothing to the level that you ladies did.
That guy was just, we had to like try to kick him out with the security. I mean, it was really bad. But that just goes again. We need to just have respect for everyone. I mean, I know our country has become so polarized, and you've got left against the right and everything in the world, but oh my gosh, it doesn't need to happen at a ghost hunt. Paranormal investigation.
Yeah, because you have those people that, because they're not having a good time, nobody can have a good time, and that's just unfortunate. So I'm okay with telling them to leave.
But on the other side of that, Lesley, we've had people that come like with a person that wants to come and is a believer, and they're skeptical, but they're there because they got drugged there, and they have an experience to the point it freaks them out so bad they just leave. They can't take anymore. We've had that happen as well too.
Because we always like to ask at the beginning of the tour who our skeptics are, and then we always ask them at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you change your mind? Do you believe?
Yep.
And then they always are like, well, some things happened that I can't explain. And then you see them again on another tour.
Yeah. That's happened to us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We
And
also
that's
have
the thing.
that think you're supposed they're at like a haunted house, like amusement park type. Like we're going to make things happen. And I haven't experienced much lately, but in the beginning, people were like, "This was stupid. Nothing jumped out." Like they thought they were going to I don't know.
They're like, "When is the ghost going to jump out?" I mean, we explained very thoroughly that we do not make anything happen. This is a real paranormal investigation. Respect for each other, spirits, but you're always gonna.
Yep.
You're always gonna have that, unfortunately. And
Yeah. Matt's always good at our Publix to tell people that it's not Dollywood. You're not going to experience,
can't guarantee something happens,
Right. I usually follow it up with, we may go out here for the next 4 hours and talk to thin air and nothing happened, or we may have the most incredible night we've ever had. And for those people out there, because there'll be some that will watch this on YouTube and Facebook and different groups and things, and there'll always be somebody that has a thought or opinion. If you've never been on a real paranormal investigation with experienced paranormal researchers, then you don't know what is or isn't happening, for one. And two, I would suggest go out and try it and make a decision for yourself. Go out and experience it. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, and hey, that's cool. But we don't, then if it's not your cup of tea, don't do it. If it is, then great. So that's just kind of my soapbox thing. There will be somebody that has a comment, I'm sure.
Well, a good example of that is like we went to Jefferson Towers in Birmingham. It's a building that was built in the 1920s, and down in the 1930s with the polio outbreak, they had turned the bottom into kind of like the morgue. Well, we finished the tour down there, and I made sure everybody was out of the room, turned the lights off, and I went to wiggle the doorknob to make sure it was locked. And I went to go join the group that was down there talking to two of our other investigators who's not on the podcast tonight. But we were talking, and the lady was like, "Yeah, I just wish something would have happened to make me believe." And then as soon as she said that, the doorknob wibbled 10 feet away from us. I was like, "Did anybody else say that?" And they're like, "Well, we heard something, but we didn't." And as soon as we said that, it wiggled again 3 times. And the lady was like, "Well, I guess I now believe, and I want to get out."
See, that's exactly right. You know, and I think, imagine if you're on the other side, right? Imagine if you're on the other side of the veil, and then you have these people who are heckling, or these people who are making fun of it, or these people who are saying it is not real. And that, would you interact with those people, or would you interact with the people that were being respectful and were acknowledging your existence and willing to talk to you? I know me, if I walk into a crowded mall and there's a group over here acting like a bunch of jerks, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I imagine that spirits probably do the same thing. I don't know. That's just my guess.
We
So-
had to ask if they leave, because if they come, that's another thing. And I say, be respectful. And sometimes we say no alcohol, because when you drink and try to do a investigation, that doesn't mix well. You know, some people come and they've been drinking, and we've had to actually ask them to leave. Plus that is opening yourself up to a negative, something negative attaching you. That makes it easier for something demonic or negative to attach to you. And,
Absolutely. Yep.
We've seen some crazy things happen with people. You were laughing about something. What happened?
I was thinking about the time I had the drunken bachelorette party as my group.
Oh yeah, the drunken bachelorette party. There was
That was terrible.
I can only imagine. Well, and I think you brought up another fantastic point that opens up you to those lower vibrations, because if you get seriously thinking and researching about like demonic possessions, oppression, the different things that lead to that, most of the time you'll find that those cases center around people who are suffering from depression, addiction, lower vibration things. So we have the same thing. We don't want people coming to our events that have been drinking or on drugs or those things, because you get into those lower vibrations, you open the door to dangerous things. I mean, we are interacting with unseen forces, and yes, a lot of times they're human spirits, but they're not always. I know we've encountered non-human entities that weren't demons. I mean, we've encountered other things that were non-human. So I think that's a very important point too that you ladies brought up, that we don't talk again enough about, is those I guess safety nets or safety rules when we go into these environments. Al, you got any other questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Lesley.
No, there has to be ground rules, or it just those. I mean, it can open you up to something really bad happening. You know, spiritually or even physically. You know, but I don't know. People are crazy. There was a question a while ago, and it was, when will the Southern Ghost Girls be back to South Pittsburgh Hospital?
Yeah.
And that made me think of that, because we had to actually throw somebody out there because they didn't drink it. And they started screaming at us, "When's the ghost gonna come out?" But we are going to be back. I just booked it, and it's going to be April 24th. April 24th, 8 p.m. Southern Ghost Girls will be hosting at the South Pittsburgh Hospital. Probably like
Awesome.
8 to 2. So we'll
That's a fantastic location. Yep.
I'll get tickets on sale this weekend. It's, you know, that is not personally my most favorite place, because I don't like hospitals. I'm really freaked out. But Kimmy, who's the nurse on our group, she's going to have a really good time there, I think. That'll be her good time. She's going to have a good time, but I like to stay away from hospitals.
It's my favorite.
It's Anna's favorite.
It's one of my favorites too.
One of my favorites also.
Have you guys done Hales Bar Dam?
Not yet. We want to.
It's not far from there at all. We've actually done Hales Bar twice. That is a really cool location.
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on there than I think people realize on the surface. A team such as yours, with the gifts and intuition you have, you'll key in on the same stuff that we did when you were there, when you go there. Yeah, after you go there, get in touch with us, because we'll compare notes. For
And
sure.
then you try to get together and do like a private investigation there this spring or something. I've heard it's crazy.
Yeah,
So
it's
Anna's
good.
saying something
It is.
here. What were you saying? You had done so far?
Yeah, I did a 2-hour tour there. And it was really neat. I want to spend all night because I want to do more detailed investigation. But
Yeah,
right when we walked in, there was the back wall. You easily could see a shadow of like maybe a security guard walking back and forth. And
Yep.
then we went down in the tunnels, and there's this dog.
Oh, yeah.
The 2 little girls that I think died down there.
Yep.
And I brought in a grid, and I just set it up, and it started going on and off. And so I started playing around with it, like, are you turning my lights off? And it said yes through a ghost box. So I started commanding it and asking, different questions, and it was responding through turning my lights on and off. It was really neat.
We'll have to go there. for
Yeah, it's a
sure.
cool location. Our little claim to fame, I guess, if you will, we got to do the very first ever live from there. We actually went live for the first time that they got the internet working down in one part of the tunnel. So our little claim to fame, we did get to do that. But the tunnels are awesome. There's an energy down there that is so palpable, especially the longer the night goes on. Yeah, it's a great location. You girls would absolutely love it. And like I said, promise me when you go there, you'll get in touch with us and we can compare notes because I want to see what you guys get there. Like I said, we've been there twice. We did 2 overnights there, and both of
I'd like
them
to
were
do it overnight.
fantastic.
For 2 hours probably would not be enough.
No, that was just kind
2
of
hours is not enough. No.
No,
We don't do
no, you could spend 2 full nights there. You really could. It's huge. It's so big, and there's so between the tunnels down below and the actual layers of the dam. I mean, you really could, to do it justice. You could spend 2 full nights there easy. Al, we're a little bit over the hour mark here, but any other questions, Al, that you wanted to ask? If not, I'm going to give them time to plug anything they got coming up before we get ready to wrap.
Yeah. No, I mean, we could probably talk another hour.
Well, girls, what do you guys have coming up that you guys maybe want to talk about or plug? Upcoming events, anything exciting? We've had your information scroll along there for the website. If there's any other social media handles you want to plug right now, or anything else you guys want to put out there.
Well, just the events. I'm trying to get everything scheduled right now for the upcoming year, but we do a place, the Arlington Antebellum Home. If you haven't been to that, we'd love for y'all to come to one of those events. And we stay late for the ghost hunt. We'll stay as late as we can if you come for that. But we have a place in Jasper, Georgia that we investigate. We're doing 2 events coming up there, March 12th and 13th, Birmingham, and then South Pittsburgh Hospital. Again, like I was talking about, April 24th. But we're about to do a place in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And that's going to be really interesting. I'm actually going down there tomorrow to check it out. It's built in 1880, and it's right downtown. I'm going to check that out. But everyone's calling me like, this place is so haunted. It's crazy. And I don't know. What else have I got? I've just got Athens, Alabama. We're going to be doing some stuff there. We mostly do everything central to North Alabama, and then we do stuff like in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Georgia over there in Jasper. And there's an awesome place called the Historic Lowry House, and it is a Civil War era house in Huntsville, Alabama. That will be March 27th. And that is a hidden jewel. Not many people know about it.
Cool.
It was actually, there's been like 4 people murdered in the house, but it has like a huge Civil War.
There was a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And the
Yeah.
Dred Scott case was drafted there also,
Yeah.
is rumored.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. I was going to say, if you ladies ever get up towards Northeast Tennessee, we have several locations here that we exclusively have access to, plus our home haunt, the Nickerson, Sneed, and Glade Spring, Virginia. If you guys ever want to make a road trip up this way, we'd love to get together and investigate with y'all. So we'll give you the standing invitation. So there you have it.
Oh, y'all come with us too. Seriously.
Yeah, we love getting together with people that are like-minded. We have fun. We have fun. It's just what we love doing. So we're passionate about it. So like I said, standing invitation. Anytime you guys want to come up this way, just let us know and we'll get together.
What are the places again? I heard you say
We have a bunch. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
What are the places there that y'all do mostly?
We have several locations that we have here in East Tennessee. One is the Old Deary Inn, another is the Tipton Haynes. The Old Deary was one of the stops on the Old Stage Road. It ran pretty much if you were going from Washington, D.C. to Nashville, it was one of the stops you had to make. It's a really cool old historic inn. It dates back to 1796. We have another place called the Tipton Haynes House. That is Colonel John Tipton Haynes, or Colonel John Tipton, and then the Haynes family had it after that. I always try to put those two together. Our historian is actually the curator there, or the, what's his title?
Co-director.
Yeah, co-director of that location. So we investigate there, do a lot of publics there. And we are actually based out of the Nickerson Sneed House Museum in Glade Spring, Virginia. Most of us live in East Tennessee. It's about 40 minutes up the road, but our lead psychic actually owns it. And it was a Civil War hospital. It was some of the bodies during the Battle of Saltville were kept in the basement. Dr. Nickerson Sneed actually built the house around what was once King Cannon's Fort, which dates back to the 1770s. It has full body apparitions, shadow figures, disembodied voices. Pretty much, if you can experience it, it's there. We've traveled all over the country. We've done hundreds of investigations, and our home honestly still remains one of the places we've captured some of the best evidence. So check it out. In fact, the Tennessee Ray Chasers do events there all the time.
Nickerson Sneed, that's where I see it. I see stuff about it all the time, you know, on Facebook and stuff, and that's one of the places I'm like, that I would like to go there.
Yeah, you need to come.
All together too. That's and not all of us, you know, can be at every single ghost investigation or paranormal investigation. We have to kind of, our schedules rotated out. We actually have more girls than this, a couple more that are not on the call tonight. So
that's like us. We actually have we have 11 people on our team, so we have a huge team too. And only 4 or 5 of us rotate on this show pretty typically, but yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the Nickerson Sneed, you guys would love it. It's a great place. You ever want to come, just let us know. Like I said, we're in good with the owner. Yeah, she's on our team.
We would have to be able to wear our dresses.
Of course,
yeah, absolutely.
We would expect nothing less. I mean, that's what you guys are known for. So yeah, of course.
People ask all the time, "Are those not uncomfortable? Are those not killing you?" I actually feel more comfortable.
They're horrible.
I'm like,
you are weird because they're not comfortable to me.
this is the new fashion style.
Especially if it's hot. They're really not comfortable.
Man, what do you think Dr. Sneed would think about like 7 women dressed up in period clothing?
I would say we would definitely get a lot of interaction from Dr. Sneed. Dr. Sneed does not really like women. He likes to let women know their place. So we get a lot of very interesting interactions when we have women. So I would imagine if we had a bunch of women dressed in period clothing, we could definitely get Dr. Sneed to be active. Let's put it that way. To show
we get put in our place a lot. So we get called several names in our dresses and hats.
Yes, he is. He's been known to pull hair and actually push women. Yeah, so he gets pretty upset sometimes when we have females in investigative roles.
Y'all think why he is like this, or?
Yeah, we just think that it's not that I don't think that he shouldn't say dislikes women. I don't think that's it per se. He just doesn't feel like they should be strong women. I think he kind of feels they should be from that era, mid 1800s. He just thinks women have their role, just even by some of
Submissive
the,
and quiet and no
Exactly.
opinion about anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that seems to be the case when women start kind of really asking a lot of questions or being very assertive. He seems to make himself known and try to intimidate, women guests that we have, including
We're
the
gonna
owner.
have to
She's had
Now,
interactions.
Now we have
we're
to.
gonna outnumber him.
But it's a cool location. Like I said, I'd love to have you guys come up and check it out. But guys, thank you for being on tonight. We definitely went over. Like I said, we'd stay on and talk to you all night because we love talking para. But I'm sure you guys have better things to do. It's been a great show. Enjoyed having you on. Hope you guys will come back on with us again sometime. I think we could dive into a bunch of other topics, and hopefully somewhere down the line we can get together and do a collaboration together. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I know our team would enjoy you guys, and I think you guys would enjoy our team. So I
We've
think it would
got to
be
go.
great.
I'm gonna contact you because we really do want to go.
Well, we'd love to have you. Like I said,
Yeah.
standing invitation.
How can people
at-
find this video here?
This video here, okay, well, it will be on our Facebook, it will be on our YouTube, and there's about 8 or 10 groups that I usually share it out to. And don't ask me off the top of my head because I just have a little list as my cheat sheet. It's some of the ones that everybody does. There's a bunch of them, but sorry, Al.
Pun, Paranormal Unity Network.
It's like 10 or 12 that I share them to, and most of them put them on there without any problems. Some of them take a day or two to approve, and that's how we'll share it out. But hopefully you guys will share it out. We'll share it on all of our public pages, our public figure pages, as well as our personal pages. So it'll get out. It'll get spread around for sure.
Share it to us, and we'll definitely put it on our page. So
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, please do. Guys, like I said, it was a great show. Enjoyed having you on there. Hopefully we'll get to do it again. Do you guys have any other last things you want to say or last questions before I do the outro?
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
It's been a blessing. If you guys will hang out for just a minute, we'll talk to you guys off the air and say goodnight to you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and cue the outro. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Gathering. We will be back next week. I don't know for sure what our topic is going to be. We have rearranged our calendar a little bit. I honestly think we're probably going to have some of the people that are going to be involved in the Field of Fears documentary project on with us. J.W. Prather is going to probably come on. Probably Medium Sky Ray and some people from our team to talk about that project. And then we're back on the 20th. When are we back on next after that? 25th? Yeah, the 25th. Yes, we have Charlotte Underwood from, she's an internationally renowned psychic medium, spiritualist medium from the UK. She's been on several UK television shows. So she'll be with us on the 25th. So make sure you guys tune in and keep up with The Gathering, and make sure you show some love to the Southern Ghost Sisters. Check out their website, follow them on Facebook, check their social media, and keep up with these guys. Oh, what'd I say?
Sisters.
Oh my.
Sisters would.
Whew. Okay, let me try it again. Make sure you show some love to the Southern Ghost girls. I apologize. We're friends with the Ghost Sisters too, and we sometimes have them on, so I got tongue-tied. I do apologize. But the Southern Ghost girls, check out their website, check out their Facebook, check out their social media, keep up with what they're doing, and we will see you guys in on the next episode. You guys have a good evening.